Hey everyone. Hi Scorpio. Okay, so welcome to Opal Oracle if you're new. And if you're returning, hi. Okay, so I'm using the Wild Unknown Tarot by Miss Kim Krans. I actually very much admire her story and how she made these cards. She made these cards because she was actually really depressed and anxious and been through a whole bunch in her life in the past and in the present, and the past was affecting the present, which obviously affected the future, and she just started creating. Okay, first card out, this, and actually this was on the bottom of the deck, and I feel like, because you're also ruled by Mars besides Pluto, right? Originally Mars. And I feel like this is very much a card of you, your nurturing, caring, compassionate aspect, but also your fierce protection of yourself and of those that you feel energetically connected to, right? But yeah, she just kept drawing these, and now look where she is. You know what I mean? What do we got here? The Star, that's awesome, Uranus. Strength, awesome, Leo. The Lovers, great, Gemini. And the Daughter of Pentacles, or the Page, which is, I always see as the student, right in the middle. Great cards. Wow. Oh, actually, let's make a pile. That's 5. We need one more, please. That one. 3 of Wands. This one wants to come out too. 6 of Pentacles. 4 of Wands on the bottom. Well, Scorpio. That's very positive. Let's see here. Interesting. Okay. Yes. 1 second, please. Good. Great. Oh, that's awesome. You actually ended up in the Mother of Wands in the reverse. But I clarified it because we had an extra card, and you have the Strength here, which is a different, this is Strength and this is Strength. But they're very different, okay? Fire, yes, both. Power, yes, both. But how they go about expressing their own, because what is power? I guess that's a good question to ask yourself. What do you perceive as powerful? What is power to you? And then you have to ask yourself, like, what is graceful? And do you see grace as power? You know, because what is grace but like a place within your whole body, right? Like calm, because you know that you are safe, you are loved, you are protected. You have the ability to not only desire safety, the feeling of love and the feeling of protection, right? But you have to desire it, i.e. ask to be a part of that, okay? To gain it, to possess it, right? The opposite would be Taurus. You're opposite, that's how you learn, okay? not to be possessed by those things, right? Possessed by love, or possessed by protection, or possessed by safety, right? Because that's too much control. But to just possess the ability to access that if and when you need to, you know? There's a difference there. Now, I think this is interesting. The energy that you're actually sort of building up some sort of creativity on the inside. This could be like internal workings that you're going through. You're trying to contain, the energy within you is sort of contained. Also creatively speaking a little bit. But I sense that there's good reason for it. For some of you in some ways, okay? Of course, we don't want to be too restrictive, right? We want to let it out, because even though this is the Three of Wands, the interpretation is different, right? The visual expression of it is a little bit different. And I think a part of that is usually the Three of Wands is just one person, right? Desiring something, waiting for something, expecting something, that put in the energy and the effort and the action to achieve something later, you know, or is expecting to achieve something from all that effort that they've put into it. But this card represents something that you need to be a little bit more open to receiving, which usually this would be, this is the Six of Pentacles. I see this as a small branch, okay, like something that's sort of new. It's got smaller leaves. I feel like these pentacles are sort of buds. They haven't quite opened yet, but there's a lot of them. And once, you know, like once a plant starts flowering, you're like, oh my God, the whole bush is covered in them. You know what I mean? Or like blackberries when they come in season, something like that. The acorns on the trees, whatever these little things that you're working on. It's like there's, again, both these cards are kind of waiting. So I guess you need to be a little bit more receptive to some sort of patience within where it is that you're going and what it is that you've been asking for. And this goes back to the gaining without destroying, right? Because if you become impatient, right, or aggressive in nature, right, aggressive in the environment, then you might trample these little ones, all these little ones that are growing. And if you wait just a little bit longer, then I see that you'll be blessed with having something come to fruition that's for you, okay, that's fair. Now, of course, fairness, although there are certain generalities, it is a little subjective what someone sees as fair or not. I mean, I think it's pretty basic, you know, if we're breaking down to a fundamental level. I think this can also be you being a little bit more open and more receptive to help also. Even if it's just small kinds of help, right? Like, and being appreciative of that, whether that's other people or little miracles that have happened in your life, whether, again, that's like people you've met, or again, like the flowers outside or the blackberry bush, you know, the memories attached to those kind of positive things. Maybe it'd be nice to go back and think about what plants you connect to as a kid, like what trees or flowers or things like that, fruit, right? That'll help you figure something out. I like that this is your leap of faith section. It's really good. You have Uranus in the 7th house, generally speaking, right? Scorpios do. So that's about miracles within your one-on-one relations with people, with your contracts with people. You know, understanding that, you know, with Uranus there will be things that, you know, about once a month, right? Something it's going to transit through. And yeah, and it's going to show you how sometimes there are certain contracts, and this could be contracts with your past lives, with your family, with your friend from 5 years, you know, that you're friends for 5 years, whatever. Some of them will go away, but the reason why they do is so that you can have something brand new. Okay, something that actually is miraculous and very freeing, right? Like whatever's come into your life and has kind of stayed there since the Uranus transit for you going into your opposite Taurus. It's like, which they actually rule this card, so it affects you. Okay, this card affects all of us, but it's where it's rejuvenating to and possible to not have to cloak yourself in the darkness or in the past. Not everything can be solved with compassion, first and forthright. You know, we have to go through the full grieving process sometimes. Getting mad, getting sad, being remorseful, being blameful, you know, at ourselves, at others, whatever. But then we come to a place of freedom, which is wonderful. It's wonderful. So yeah, whoever's been in your life since this transit started, I see it's specifically since May, that is like stuck around, and you know you can trust them and they're on your team, even if it flits a little bit, because we all have a hard time with trust. But I know that Mars and Pluto, of course you do, right? But they're there for a reason. They're there to help you with your heart, and you're there to help them with their heart, and that's the point. Right? There's time and place to be. Sometimes we're just gonna be like, you know, softer about it. To ourselves, of course, you know, that's where it all starts. You get really mad at yourself for something small or out of what seems like nowhere. Well, then possibly there's some sort of astrological thing happening that's making you kind of react in a way. You know, if you have a difficult, you know, who knows, like you're ruled by Mars also again, so if you have a difficult Mars placement, I mean, of course it's all dependent on what else is in your chart, but you know, there are certain stones you can wear that are really helpful. You know, particularly with Mars, red stones, coral. Garnet is technically Capricorn and Saturn, but and then again, it depends on your houses, whether it be more of a amber color or a deep red, carnelian, etc. So just be aware of that, you know, maybe do a little research. And when it comes, I want to mention this for some reason because you actually rule gemstones, okay? So your knowledge of it should actually be quite innately in there, okay? And you should be able to easily attune to it, okay? If you're not already, or very well, like I said, extend it. So like with gemstones, you kind of want to test it out, okay? Obviously, there's certain parts of your body that it would be more beneficial, but of course anywhere, or just even having a stone of it is important. But you want to test it out, particularly when it's on your flesh, okay? Like, how do I feel with it? Is it comfortable for me? And there's certain days, like this is an emerald, so technically this is for Mercury, or Mercury placements. It can also obviously represent Gemini or Virgo. Or communication overall. And of course, the heart chakra, right? The green. But yeah, it's fascinating. There's a lot to learn about it. So I guess I just want to share that and to thank you for ruling gemstones, because that's really neat if you think about it. You know what I mean? Like all this magical power that's like really solid and stable underneath your feet everywhere that you walk. Even if you don't realize it, you're stabilized by positive magic. That actually means, fascinating, Scorpio, God, I love you. Like that means that wherever you're walking upon the earth, right, which is the opposite, your Taurus, right? Wherever you're walking upon the earth, you probably walk over certain kinds of, like say you just are having a certain kind of day and then you end up going for a walk, right? And we usually feel better, well, of course, just being outside. But I bet wherever you walk, you're probably walking over some sort of mineral or gemstone or rock that has some sort of property to help you be in a position. Or maybe that's when you're walking somewhere on earth and you feel weird about it. Well, maybe it's not just an energetic memory to some past life or whatever, which it very well could be, but it also could be some sort of like energetic connection to maybe whatever material that building's made out of, or wherever they received it from, right? Because when you unearth things, Scorpio, then that causes a lot of power to be like, you know? Like when you see those diamond mines in Russia, or at least I've only seen the photographs of them, and it's really intense. You know, it almost seems wrong, like how much they're unearthing. Okay? So I guess with all this unearthing talk, I also want to mention that there's something about taking it easy, taking it step by step, okay? We talked about this a few months ago, for those of you who are around, about the mountain, right? You climb the mountain, and then you get to the top of the mountain next month, and you realize there was another mountain, which actually is kind of the tree of life, the Kabbalah tree of life, right? So you're going up, which in some Kabbalah tree of life, it's Pluto up there. Some people say it's Uranus. Some people say it's Neptune. There's a lot of misinformation these days, Neptune and Pisces. I'm sure you're following. I hope you're following. But the point is that how you can manifest and create, like take the energy that's inside of you, the ideas inside of you, the creativity inside of you, and help put that into the world. Because I like this. It goes, and it's looking right over at it. Like, here it is, contained, building, right? But eventually it's just going to like shoot out all this beautiful spectrum of light. And what does that do? But it's like the end of the rainbow, and then it comes out, which is awesome, right? It just extends itself out into the future. And then what does that turn into? But the other end of the rainbow is this huge, see? Look how cool that is. You know, and instead of just one, there's two. You also may learn something about Gemini through your response mechanisms, okay? This obviously could be within your communication, And I heard in relation to Mars, but it can also be anything having to do with the third house, you know? And I see your sixth house, which is Virgo, okay? And they're ruled by the same, by Mercury, okay? I also see a lot of you, when I mentioned the root chakra last time, that is because when you're fiercely independent, you know, it's kind of hard to receive sometimes, you know, in whatever way that may be. You know, this isn't very receptive either way, in a way. You know what I mean? It's a little protective. But it's the ego that does that, right? Now, this is also your message from your higher self or your spirit. So Gemini could be saying something to you. For some of you, for others of you, overall, it's just about this rainbow extension, okay? This full blown expansion of an opening of yourself and your chakras and your creativity, okay? The least amount I see here is green. The most prominent, I see that it goes from red to yellow for the most part, okay? So that's your root and your solar plex, which actually is Leo, so red and yellow, right? I see this as a Sagittarius card. And actually, Sagittarius is ruled by, Jupiter is ruled by yellow gemstones. Citrine, yellow sapphire, etc. Okay? So that might be something, I'm not suggesting anyone go and buying anything absurdly expensive. You don't even know if, it's going to work, if you will. I mean, if you think it will, then it will, probably. But the point is that you can just get a piece of citrine and have it and, have an intention behind it. You can just wear yellow, too. Things like that. Wear red when you don't feel safe. You know what I mean? When you need to, for some reason, protect yourself, right? But your higher self is telling you, the more you can examine your own energy and wherever it is that it's still constricted, and be really open-minded to understanding and looking at yourself objectively, which I'm sure that you can, then I see that you free yourself. You fly free in this life, and you don't fly alone. And I also see that Spirit's letting you know that, God's letting you know that you can there's something about the migration of these are the Canadian goose. There's something about a decision, but it won't be made until, you have to learn until March about something. There's one particular thing you're learning about. Throughout that time, from then till now, right? And next June, you have to make some sort of decision. I know it's far ahead, but I see next June some sort of decision, but there is something about this migration. So they migrate from, when I used to live closer to the Arctic, they leave around late fall, mid-late fall, and then they return mid-late spring. Okay? Sometimes there's still snow on the ground, but I guess I sensed that around March. So there's something about not making a decision to do anything, because this is a huge decision, right? And you have to pick it from a moral standpoint, because whatever you decide here, then you get into the chariot and you move along really fast, right? It's like getting on a hot shot if you're like train hopper, you know what I mean? You're on it, and then you're like 100 miles an hour for 400 miles, right? And you're just in another place, and you're like, whoa, okay, here I am. So there's something about taking the time and the time that you have to wherever you are and wherever you'll be. And I guess that's about 9 months from now, right? September, October, November, December, and then to June, yeah, would be 9. Interesting. So I also see you untangled about something by December, too. Okay? Feeling better in your heart about things. I guess in Western astrology, Jupiter will be in Sagittarius then, right? Let's pick one separate one just to see what your animal is for Scorpio. I try to see a vision, but it's hot here and it drains me. Well, you have this Judgment card again. I guess in a way that's a dove. I also saw it as like a white eagle. I don't even know if there is a white eagle, but you are ruled by the eagle, aren't you? I also see this is you, this is you digging through the soil, right? And then free. But remember, you're not an air sign, so it's a little bit different if you're going to be up in the invisibility world. You got to make sure you realize, you remember how to ground yourself, okay, when the mind does too much, or the mind becomes too dark, okay? It's important to have faith and connect to whatever you consider source, okay? Yeah, look at that. I just split the deck. Okay, 2 things freeing themselves from the darkness, and what's underneath that? Boom. And what's underneath that? Boom. And what's underneath that? Just for fun, those of you who like tarot. Aw, the Judgment just slipped underneath Zumi's nose. You want to see? Hold on. Can you see? Aw, good girl, Zumi. Yep. Zumi says you're going to be fine, okay? Right, Zumi? Yeah. All right, I'll talk to you later, Gator. Be good.